Okay, I'm talking about Joe Cell today. This is occult ether physics. um, I don't know. It's kind of like it's almost like between magic and I don't know. I don't want to say pseudoscience. It's what's there. It's just that it's not seen. It's occult. Occult doesn't mean like killing little babies, and although some do, but you don't have to do that if you have other means. We're talking about I was talking about the Joe cell the last time on my previous video. Check out on the playlist. I'm gonna have like just Joe cell stuff and anything with etheric energy, free energy, perhaps vimanas and flying vehicles, powerless vehicles and things like that. It's intriguing to me. It's probably intriguing to just a few people, but it's not for everyone. And I understand that. It's the same thing with marriage. It's not for everyone. The few that escape it, the few that escape the plantation, it's like take your time and use it for to discover these other things that are hidden. Don't be afraid of it. It's a long journey, but eventually you'll get an idea. Hopefully in this lifetime, and you don't have to come back again. With that said, I was talking about the Joe cell, some of the basic construction things, and I wanted to touch up on the water. I think I left off on the water, how to charge it, and I got into DC voltage, which is safe. It's a safe. It's a safe voltage. You still have to be careful because sometimes you get a little kickback, so that might not be too safe. But low voltages, 12 volts, 1.5 volts, 24 volts, 48 volts are still okay. Higher volts, I never tried anything with them, and so I couldn't say. Also, the amperage, a battery can pack a lot of, can draw a lot of amperage. So if you get that kickback, it's not good. You get a jolt. Like if you put your fingers inside a 120 volt outlet, it may be worse. So you got to be careful. Take precautions. Don't do something that you don't know, and that's the way I've been working with a lot of caution all my life. And I started this journey with the electrolysis, like I said, back in 2003, something like that, maybe 1997 or 98. And I went back into it because I started hearing stuff about Joe cells and all these energy devices. Anyways, let's get back into the Joe cell, the water, the supposed charge. I don't like to call it charging because you're not charging it. Okay, this is my theory on it. Like an automobile battery, it does not contain electricity inside. It draws it out from the ether. It has the potential to do that. You don't store it. You condition the battery. So the Joe cell is the same way. You condition it. You don't charge it. There's really no such thing as charging unless you're charging, I don't know, bacteria or something like that. You're charging, inoculating something, and but usually charging means it's something electrical that you put in something else. I don't believe that there's how can you cannot store electricity. It cannot be done. Oh, how about a condenser? This condenser has a way to pull it out of the ether. That's why it's like shaped like a little coil. It's spiral. If you ever want to open one up, if you ever do that, make sure it's discharged. And how you discharge it is by putting a screwdriver over the two terminals, and that discharges the circuit. Still, you gotta read up about it and get some precautions before you do something like that. Capacitors can be, they could be fatal. So you gotta be careful. The little thing's not gonna, although it could do a little damage, but a little thing's not gonna. It's those air conditioner, those big condensers, and then there's bigger ones. Those can draw a lot of electricity out of the. That's what they do. They draw it out quickly. That's what a battery does. When you turn on the ignition, it draws juice into that starter to get that motor going. It's not that the electricity is in the battery. Okay, that's my theory, anyways. A lot of people will say that, and any scientist will probably doubt it. Although a good scientist will probably say, yeah, I'm probably right. Especially those that have read about Morley and all these fellows that back in the 1900s when they came up with these Maxwell's formulas and stuff, things like that. That's old knowledge that somehow all this stuff just came out back in the late 1800s, and so, like I said in some of my other videos, something happened around 1870, and we fell upon all this knowledge for some reason. And anyways, that's another subject, but all this stuff just came out, and wonderful stuff. It almost rivals, let's say, magic, but it's not the same thing. The wonder weapons of the Nazi era, all based on the real, that energy that's out there, and we just suck it in to do something for us, whether it's driving a vehicle, mobility, propulsion of an aerial vehicle. Those are those things that are, they're based on that ideology. Stuff that science is not going to accept today. Charging the water. I prefer to call it conditioning. I'm giving you all this so you can get a little bit of an idea of where I'm at and where I'm going. Conditioning the water. And how do you do that? Well, you basically just insert a small voltage into the item. Now, there's two things involved in this. It could work, and I was talking about my 215 engine that I have on that Cutlass. The one that the Rover that Joe got started originally, it was a 215 engine, and it worked for him. It went to work right away. And Joe says that those something about aluminum engines that they just start. Anyways, for him, they start right away. Now this was a time where we had carburetors. It was a little bit different. As far as injectors and stuff like that, Joe probably knows this. I don't know about it. I wish that we could have more videos of Joe, but for some reason, there's nothing available. There's nothing available out there, really, of anything lately. If anybody knows any videos, new videos, post it in the comments section, or upload it to YouTube and just leave it there. And we'd love to see it. We'd love to see anything from Joe, but it's something that happened. A lot of people were, hoping that this would work for everyone, but it just seems to be one of those things that just works for certain people in certain times, and it's not gonna be out in the public anytime soon. So, a lot of these people, the spooks are, they really don't have to worry about anything, because this stuff doesn't come out, if it does, it does, but for the most part, it doesn't. And there's too many naysayers out there. There's too many unbelievers. They're not going to believe, and they're safe. The spooks are pretty safe for now. I'm not going to get into spooks and who they are, but any entity, it could be a corporation, it could be a government, a person, somebody that has interest that we should not have this kind of knowledge. Okay, so when you charge the water, when I charge the water, Joe says that you do it for, I don't know, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and see what it does. Hook it up to a car, and if it runs the car, you got something. There's other things that these cells also do. Some are for health, and you have to figure out how to use it for health. If it works for something, healing something in the body, if it works for that, that's what you have. And, be happy that you have that. Don't try to change it, because you're probably never going to get that back. It's almost like a gift. I've never really had it working for me. I stopped because of, I had to take care of my mom, and, I couldn't do it. And this was about 8 years ago. I stopped all my experiments. Everything's just left behind in the basement. You could try for 3-5 seconds and see what you have. Hook it up to a car. Now, that's the other thing, is hooking it up to a car. From what I remember reading, what he said was that you have to do it in a certain way, and this is where everybody fails, and they fail by the way they hook it up to the car. People think that you're supposed to hook up a hose to an engine, and somehow that energy is just going to flow inside the cylinders and so forth. But this is not. This is more like. It's not molecules. This is a plasma, basically, for a lack of word. I'm not trying to be, mysterious, but plasma is basically something that's there. They call it plasma. A lot of people call plasma this energy that's there, and sometimes you see it in those balls for decorations, the electric balls, and you put your finger on it, and you get this. That's sort of like that. It's called plasma, and that is injected through. It could be a pipe. It could be a little pipe, like I don't know, 1/2 inch or so, and it has to be aluminum. No copper and no brass, because they kind of don't allow the energy to flow through. But it has to be aluminum. It could be stainless steel, I think, but don't quote me on that. And you hook it up to a bolt in the engine. What do you mean a bolt? You hook it up, the pipe. This is the bolt, and you jam it in there. Seal it as much as possible. Maybe weld it if you can. Weld it in there. That would be the solder it, maybe. Although the solder may do something to stop that energy flowing through. So you have an open pipe. Possibly could be a solid tube. You hook it up to the cell. It could be possibly. But I'm pretty sure it's a pipe. I don't see the reason why it couldn't be a solid tube. But I don't know. I don't know, really. Just my idea. But it could be a tube that's connected to the engine. Where in the engine? It could be the water pump. It could be don't connect it to the radiator, because that's not part of the engine. It has to be something in the engine, a bolt, like the engine case for the transmission. Wherever you find a bolt, the headers, probably, just that they're hot, but more like the intake manifold. That's a good place for them. Anything that is in contact, especially over the cylinders, that's the best place to put this in. And how you turn it on, You turn it on by, first of all, you have to have a car that you can turn the distributor. Now, Joe probably knows how to do it on electronic ignition and distributor-less automobiles. He's got the knowledge for that. I just can't even get my own stuff going. But you turn the distributor. You already have it hooked up. You make sure you isolate your cell, of course. Wrap it up in what's that? Burlap. Put sacks for potatoes. Wrap it up, insulate it, and hold it steady. And then, of course, you got to have the a negative ground going to the battery. You don't have to put the positive because that'll start creating electrolysis, and the electrolysis is starts tarnishing the cells. Talking about electrolysis and cells, what kind of water? The water is another one of those important things. Clean, clear water. He uses water out of the creek in his backyard. It's dirty, it's filthy, and he uses that. The water is important. Where do you get it? I don't know. You gotta look for you gotta try it out. Is this water gonna work? Okay, we'll try another water. But don't use any caustic soda, any chemicals, any acids, or the other stuff. The opposite of acids. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. I think it's like Drano or something like that. It's not an acid. Caustic. It's a caustic. Caustic soda. And that's going to give you... it's going to ruin your cell. So don't put anything in them. Just try different waters. Don't add anything to the water. You want to talk to it, bless it, tell it what you want it to do. Hey, maybe hook up their little battery. They had 1.5 volt battery to the cell just to condition it, to give it the magic you need. So now you hook it up to start your car, and then as you it's a combination of fuel and the distributor. You have to start the car and then start advancing the distributor, advancing, and as it dies, you gotta keep giving it gas. And at the same time as it appears to be, the cell, the carburetor, and the distributor, you got three things going. That's the hard part. Then you got to start cutting off the gasoline supply. And that's even tougher with a little valve or something. You cut off and see if it keeps sputtering and running a little bit, and then play around with the distributor. Give it a little gas and, that kind of a thing. So, how exactly, there's no book that you can write about that because you have variables. You have too many variables, and for something that we don't understand how it works. Okay, so that's how you hook it up to the car, and that's something you got to do and learn how to do, and it only takes time. Try it once, try it 2 times, 3 times, see how it goes. And all the precautions, of course. Don't put anything in the water. It'll booger it up, like he says. What else? Important thing. There's a book out there, a transcript. Look for it in the internet. I think it's called Joe Talks, and you got to read it 25 times in order to understand what the guy's talking about. It's just like other things too, like the emerald tablets. You got to read them 20, 30 times, 100 times in order to get the idea, and you still don't. It's the same thing with this money generator of mine, huh, Charlie? The money generator. It's like if you can't, you don't take the time to see that. What can I say? Same thing with this cell. You can sit there all day long, and especially if you've been trained in the schools, and your mind is initialized and it's been schooled. It's boogered. If you have the ability to get rid of all that information somehow and just start out fresh with a new perspective, great things can happen. Great things could happen in this to everyone. Not just a couple people, but to everyone. Imagine having free energy. Hey, it'll take a lot of people out of work, but then again, it's like you don't need to work anymore. Basically, for the most part, it's going to free up a lot of people. Is it going to put a lot of people in? No, it's just going to help out everyone. That's how the old Atlantis was. It was like a tremendous city, tremendous place, magic all around, and that's how people lived. No technology. Technology is just like not enough, but enough to make everybody else believe that technology is good for us. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, that water is just got to be pure water, just clean water. Probably nothing like distilled water or, just water out of a faucet, water out of a creek, wherever. When you condition that water, it sets a charge, and all that stuff just comes down to the bottom. And whatever that stuff is, if it's too much, it kind of shorts out the cell. You might need to get rid of it, save it somewhere, and label it what you took out and when you took it out. Don't throw it away. Just keep it in a little bottle and just label it. Who knows? You might get something going with the cell, and then you want the original water. You want to build another one. But I tell you this, it's not going to really work if you do something like if you want to use the cell to make money. If you're wanting to start a business selling cells, it's probably not going to work for you. It's just going to work for the individual person. Although he does have a story about somebody out there, they clean pools with these cells, but it defeats the purpose. The cell can probably free you up in more ways than one. And why do you want to get involved into? Why do you want to fall back to selling? And if you don't need it anymore, if you already accomplished something, you have the knowledge to maybe build another one and build a car that doesn't need fuel, a house that runs on free energy. So some of his cells, he says, talks about the reproduction of the material. Story. I'll tell you the story real quick since I'm talking Joe Cell. Fellow has a cell he puts together and all that, and he goes out and just haphazardly puts it together, and all of a sudden he calls Joe. Hey Joe, you need to come over here. Something weird happening. So Joe goes over there and he turns the cell on, and all of a sudden they see an oily substance come up to the surface, and they wipe it down with a towel or whatever, and they wipe it down, and it smells like tea tree oil, and before you know it, it's like they're pulling tons of this stuff out of the cell, tea tree oil. Where is this stuff coming from? The cell is reproducing it. There's no water loss. There's not. It's just reproducing it. So he had, he goes, "Where did you get the containers from?" And he didn't want to say initially, and then he said, "Well, Joe, I use them for these little suckers to keep the worms out and all that." And he goes, "Well, bloody this and that. What you're doing here is you set a frequency on your tubes on your cell, because he used the tubes." The pipes for the Joe cell from his buckets of tea tree oil that he used for the plants, for the bugs. So they have a frequency, and that frequency, when they hook up the electricity, it starts producing tea tree oil. So they get tons of this stuff out, and they can't stop it. It just keeps producing tea tree oil. Now, tea tree oil is, it's expensive. What do you do with it? If you have an oversupply, you can give it away, or maybe, I don't know, start a little shop or something if you need to. I don't know. I'm just saying. So that's what happened. It had set a frequency. Now, Joe said that he gets most of his pipes from Australian used dairy equipment. And possibly that milk, it's my theory, my idea, that possibly that milk going through the pipes set off a frequency that did something to make his cars go. I mean, cows walk and, they do stuff freely like that. Maybe the milk set the frequency. Something to look into, especially if you have time. But he talks about these cells being, he talks about these cells having fantastic things going on in his shop, electricity and things moving around and stuff like that. It kind of reminds you of the Hutchison effect and some of these inventors and people that are into the occult ether side of things. Okay, guys, that's all I want to say for now. I think it's a pretty good video. A little more information about it. We don't get too much information about this stuff, and Joe is kind of hard to understand them because he's got that thick Australian accent. It's something like I know this girl in Scotland. She's Scottish. She's got you really have to concentrate to hear that accent. But okay, take care.